this year, obviously you're working with the quarterbacks a lot in that group. Is that, do you think, is that a first year thing, or is that, do you see that as a long-term approach to coaching?
That's the approach that we're going to take right now. It's hard for me to think too far in advance, but I just think that's what's the most beneficial at this stage.
How much of your system in its totality would you like to have implemented by the end of, say, mini camp, going into training camp, and how much do you think there will be left to do?
Yeah, we'd like to get the majority of it in. Certainly, this is a big evaluation stage for us to figure out exactly what we're going to be from an identity standpoint on the offensive side of the ball. But as far as like our installs that we're going to implement in training camp, we're kind of mirroring those as we go throughout OTAs.
How much is that going to be a work in progress, you think, finding that identity? Or do you have a pretty good grasp of your roster just from your time with them now and kind of looking back on film and seeing what they've done in the past?
Yeah, I think, I'd like to think that we have a pretty good grasp of what our guys are capable of doing, but until you really go through that process and give guys opportunities and put them in positions, you really don't know. And then certainly, just being the game that football is, you better be ready to adjust. So we'll work throughout that, throughout the OTA period, and even into training camp.
Yeah, what have you thought about how the young guys have mixed in with the veterans so far?
They've done a nice job. It's more or less, again, this was our second practice. Had really one shot to evaluate that yesterday without watching the tape today. But I was pretty impressed with how they, went about the phase 2 version of the workouts last week. And, I can tell you this, we got a bunch of good guys that are willing to work.
Matt, how is that relationship with Aaron Rodgers going in building that throughout this offseason program?
I think it's going great, man. He's fun to be around. You can see how much fun he has out on that field. But we've had a lot of good conversations, and I think we're growing together. And the more time that we can spend together, I think we'll have a better feel for each other. But certainly, it's been a lot of fun up to this point.
In years past, some of the older veterans, I think it was 6 years or so was the cutoff, and they wouldn't have to show up for the mini camp. How are you going to handle the rest of these OTAs and then mini camp with veteran players?
Well, first of all, OTAs, it's voluntary, right? But the mini camp, we expect everybody to be there. Anytime you're implementing a new scheme, and it's only year 2 of the defensive scheme. So, but in terms of offense and special teams, that's brand new for these guys. So we want to take advantage of those days.
I think it was around the 5th period, there was one drill where I saw running backs working with linebackers. Is that an emphasis where sometimes, not just all individual positions, but matching positions like that to work on certain drills?
Yeah, it's just whatever that emphasis is for the day. And we just want guys competing to get better at every moment and really are intentional about the drills that we're doing, how they relate to the game, and just, again, it really comes down to competition and striving to get better.
Matt, how do you handle a situation where a player requests to be traded?
That's a great question. Honestly, that's something that I'm going to let Goody handle, and we'll go from there.
Have you and Josh talked at all?
I have not talked to him.
Just curious, if watching your practice, would it be more similar to watching a San Francisco practice now, or an LA practice, or Tennessee?
Yeah, it's kind of a combo, I think, of all 3 places, to be honest with you. I'm not quite sure what they're doing in San Francisco. There is some elements that, as far as the format that we took from Tennessee, as well as my time in LA. But I'd say they're all, honestly, I've looked at so many schedules and been a part of so many different systems. Like, they all are very, very similar in terms of the format, the number of plays, the type of periods that you have on a daily basis, and it really comes to we're just trying to implement our systems right now. And as we progress, then some of those periods will be, situational, whether it's red zone, 2-minute, or whatever that emphasis is. But right now, early on in this process, it's more or less primarily first and second down. Today, we implemented a little bit of third down, but, we're just trying to get the bulk of our systems installed.
Do you have a certain number of snaps, team snaps you want to get in the off season, or is that really fluid, or?
Yeah, it's pretty fluid. I think a lot of it depends on the depth that you have out there and at certain positions, and certainly you don't want to wear these guys out, but you want to get the good work in too. So we're going to rely on some of the the GPS data, and I'm certainly going to listen to Flea and Gizzy and get their input in terms of getting quality work, but not overdoing it. Because the tendency is, shoot, I wish we could be out there all day and get 100 reps, but that's not realistic.
Hey, Matt, just to clarify on Josh Jones, has he requested a trade? And you said that you expect everyone to be here for mandatory minicamp. How would you handle it if he wasn't here for that?
Yeah, that's, right now, I'm just going to focus on the guys that are here. I guess we'll cross that bridge when it comes. But that's something that, I know Goody has a good handle on that situation.
Going back to the process, having installed in Atlanta, LA, Tennessee, and now here, are there certain mileposts you want to hit during OTAs? And are there also maybe points where you remember there being some stumbling blocks of, amount of plays or whatever else that you want to use your experience to make it smoother here?
Yeah, I think every team's a little bit different in terms of how fast guys pick things up. I will say this, just, being directly involved on the offensive side, I've been pretty impressed and pretty pleased with how fast our guys have been able to digest this information and go out there and compete and know what to do so they can go play fast and physical. And I think our guys have done a good job. They've been locked in. And, we're just going to keep trying to give them as much as they can handle. And, at some point, certainly, I think everywhere I've been, there's been a point in time where it's just, that you got to pull back at certain points. 2 days into the install, I haven't felt that yet.
Can you get a sense from the question, like I was watching Bakhtiari with the line, and you could see him asking Stavich a bunch of questions. Are you able to tell how much progress you're making by kind of the way the questions maybe go from being maybe basic to being a little more advanced from your players?
Absolutely, yeah. And like I said, I think we got a smart group of guys that ask some pretty detailed questions. And, that's a credit to the knowledge base that was kind of put on them from the previous staff and, their past experiences, whether it's past coaches in college or whatever.
When you look at your, your wide receivers, large number of young wide receivers, what are you looking for out of that group at this stage of the game?
Yeah, just going out and competing and getting better on a daily basis. I know that's a pretty generic answer, but that's what we're trying to do. And the way I look at the receiver group in general is it's kind of like filling out a basketball roster. You need guys that have a certain area of expertise, and then it's our job as coaches to put those guys in position where they can showcase that skill set. So we do have a lot of young receivers, and again, we're just trying to see them improve on a daily basis. I feel like, just like most of these guys, they've been able to digest everything we've been able to give them, and they've shown improvement.
You think there's some talent there from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, there's a lot. I think there's a lot of young talent there. I'm excited about that group.
Matt, Kevin King has played 47% of the games since he's been here. He's only finished 31%. But when you watch film, when he's on the field, what did you see there?
He's a long, fast corner who can make plays on the football. So he's definitely an important part for us moving forward.
Devontae is here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it what's keeping him out of the field?
We just precautionary, And I think it's good, like was mentioned, we do have some young receivers, so that's a great opportunity for those other young guys to really get a bulk of the reps. I think everybody in here is pretty comfortable with the player that Devontae is, and we know what he's all about.
Matt, how much can you accomplish with the offensive line and learning the outside zone now before you have pads on at camp? Obviously, you can, I would assume there's still a lot you can accomplish.
Yeah, just, a lot of the philosophy of just running off the football. But you'll get a real taste of it once you get into training camp. You get the pads on, and then just how they progress, in those preseason games. But we ran the ball quite a bit today too, so we're not gonna shy away from that. We're still installing a system.
Matt, we saw a bunch of special teams drills you were doing early in practice. Are there times that, like, even just watching certain guys do those drills, that they kind of jump out to you and you go, hey, maybe that could be a real key guy for us on special teams?
Yeah, and not only special teams, because a lot of times you can just see the athleticism of those guys in those drills that they're doing, and you can get excited about a skill set, and it's up to us to try to implement them, and use them in the right way.
Matt, in your system, how differently are the traits that you're looking for in a perimeter and a slot receiver? Are those two pretty different positions and what you're looking for characteristic for that?
Yeah, it's more, I guess, concept driven, not necessarily, slot versus outside receiver. It more or less has to do with what we're asking them to do, because just thinking back all the way to when we were in Atlanta, I think most people would agree Julio Jones, those types of players are outside receivers, but there were a lot of times we put them inside to run different type of vertical routes, and just so defenses can't get a beat on where he's going to line up every play. So, I think if you watch practice, I think you saw almost all those receivers, EQ, Jamon was in the slot. All those guys were.
I guess I was wondering if there's any discernible difference between just a characteristic standpoint of a slot guy, or if they're pretty interchangeable.
Yeah, they can be. Again, I think it's just, are you asking a guy to run a choice route, or are you asking him to take the top off and run a vertical route? Because, that's why I think it's important to assemble your receiving core similar to how you would, a basketball team. You're not going to go out and play with 5 point guards. You know what I'm saying? You need a speed guy. You need a guy that's got that short area quickness that can separate and run those choice routes. Maybe it's 3rd and 4. So we'd like to have a couple guys that are versatile enough to do both of those things.
Two more, please. Matt, I know you said it's early, but Darnell Savage was getting reps with first team today. What does it say about him that as a rookie, he's already able to be out there alongside Adrian at safety?
Yeah, he's a smart guy. We're really excited about him. He is, again, it's like you said, it's still early, but he showed some good stuff in the rookie mini camp, and then I think yesterday he showed some good stuff. So we'll just take it day by day, and we'll see where it ends up. But certainly we're very excited about him.
Matt, you were working with the quarterbacks on footwork for a while there in practice. Where is that process at? And then have you gotten a good feel for being a quarterback's coach at heart? How much time you get with them? Player also coaching the whole team during practice?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a balancing act. But I think the foundation of quarterback play starts with his feet. And so, and it's fun to be over there and pick Aaron's brain a little bit and see what he likes. And I think what's so cool is we are in alignment on everything we've talked about. So it's cool to hear him coach up the younger guys too. So now it's just kind of a back and forth dialogue, and it's been a lot of fun.
Is there different footwork though that he hasn't done for all his years of experience? Do you have different things that he's never done before in your?
Not to this point so much. He's played a long time, so he's done a lot of different things. But there's some concepts and things of that nature that we're asking him to do that he hasn't done in his past. So we're trying to challenge him on a daily basis.